Day on, I became a lover of photography.
I always knew that I'd want to do something related to cameras.
While we had gone for a hangout in Karura Forest, and while we were taking the photos, I really got interested by the nature and the photos that I actually took.
I've always had an interest in photography, but it was more of a hobby.
And so I started doing my research on photography schools and bumped into an advert on Instagram about Davasha photography. So eventually I ended up at Muthaiga Suits, where they are located, and I applied and finally became a Davasha member.
I wanted to transition from doing photography as a hobby to doing it as a professional business. And that's when I discovered Davasha.
When I saw what they were offering, I was just sure that that's the place I wanted to be.
I had attended a wedding and David was the one doing photography for that day. So I was impressed on how he was doing things. He was so diligent, precise, and professional. So after the wedding, we met up.
I was trying to look for a place that is efficient for me to learn and still really close to home.
When I joined the school, I thought I would just take photos and that's all. But to my surprise, I was really taken through a whole experience on photography, learning about long exposure, learning about lighting in photography that actually make photos.
After a few weeks, he gave me a call and I joined the school. So things were so new to me when I started school. It was a bit challenging because it was my first time handling a DSLR camera.
Davasha photography, why? Because the budget was efficient and I was able to learn and still go to college at the same time.
Things that I thought I really knew, I discovered that there was a lot more that I didn't know.
We were taught different lighting techniques and how to apply those techniques in a given setting.
My experience at Davasha photography was excellent because it's a family system, so you learn from other photographers who were there before, and also I picked up a few things that I'm gonna carry throughout my career. First, persistence and being true to yourself, because that's what makes you stand out as a photographer.
At Davasha, they really take time to take you from the very basic step of how to switch on your camera to the very last step of editing the photo that you have.
The curriculum is so detailed and wide. We learnt a lot of things, and it even gave me an upper hand from my friends who started out photography way before me.
You're sent to the field, you actually get to experience the whole curve of a day-to-day photographer's life.
I went for an attachment with Davasha photography for wedding photography, which gave me the confidence actually to do my own photography business with confidence.
My experience at Davasha has enabled me to not only get the skill but have the confidence to register my business and now become a professional photographer. So see you in the field, guys.
I always wanted to do fashion photography, so that's what I delved into when I started.
So I started looking for opportunities and forums to sharpen my skill.
A very top model in Kenya saw my work and he wanted to work with me. So he contacted me and we settled one day to just go do a random shoot in Nairobi. Those photos went a long way to get me nominated for the photo masterpiece contest. I was among the top 6 in the fashion category, and I was actually second runners up for the fashion category. That's what Davasha does for you. It transforms your amateur photography to professional photography.
One thing I actually learned about photography is that photos are not just taken, but they are made.
Wow, karibu sana. This is another week and I'm really excited to be here with you guys. And today again we are having another photography session. These sessions have become a sensation for many families, especially at such a time when we are actually at our homes, and it's quite a blessing for us to be able to share something of value at no cost, just to add value to the society. We've got many calls, people calling us and asking many interesting things, people calling us with all manner of requests, and we've been able to assist them. So I'm really glad that today we are doing another photography session. Today we have a very interesting topic. I don't know if you've looked at the poster. I don't know what you have in your mind when you see the power of photography. If you have checked my WhatsApp status, I have put a few questions there, and it's just interesting to be able to come and discuss this with you. So definitely, I want you to share this link right now with your friends in the groups that you are in, so that we start this discussion together. Some of the questions that we'll be asking ourselves today, we've always been told that photography, the camera, the camera, particularly the professional camera, it really mimics the human eye. Today we want to really ask ourselves, to what extent is this, and is it a benefit or is it not? We see the camera, it has only one lens, okay? It has only one lens, yeah? But we see our eyes are two eyes, and that means they have two lenses each eye. So we want to ask ourselves, what's the difference? Is it an advantage? Should we start making cameras with two lenses, double lenses, so that they can see as the eye sees? Is it something good or bad that is actually sees a bit different? We want to look into that space, and this will be a very interesting topic. So I want you right now to share this link with your friends, call them up or share in your WhatsApp status, invite them. I'll run another small short video and we will start soon after that. So I want to give you a few minutes. Why don't you share this link? Why don't you, click on that button and just share this link with all your friends and with your groups, and we'll be glad to have this discussion together. We don't want them to miss out, and I think that is the only good thing to do right now. Today is a holiday, we are all at home, so no worries. Go ahead and share this link as I run this short video, and then I'll be right back there with you. So karibu sana. Wow, karibu sana. I'm right here. I believe you've already started to share, this link, with other people, and this is exciting. I can't wait to dive into today's topic. Let me just see and acknowledge those who are in right now. I see we have Martin Wanja, karibu sana. I see Queen Vaji, karibu sana. Dennis Ngugi, Wamboi Ngugi, Martin Wanja, and Dennis, they're saying tuned in, and that is good. Kimsley Kasley, karibu sana, always glad to see you. Let me just check on the side of YouTube and see who is logging in here. We have Flavian, we have Flavian right there, and that is really good. So that is really cool, and I want us to go right into what we have to discuss today. As I said, we have an amazing topic for us, and my name is David Njuguna. I'm a photographer and a director in Davasha Photography. I'm so glad to share this with you. I'm sure it's worth your hour, so just stay tuned even as I pull up my presentation and we start rolling. Wow, that is great. It's coming up, it's coming up. Just hold right there. There we go. Good. So today we want to interrogate this topic, the power of photography. And the photo in front of you here is from one of our former students, an alumni of Davasha, and she sent me this photo when she had preparing a couple of presentations, and she wanted me to feature some of her photos. And I thought this is a really powerful shot, a really powerful shot of that dragonfly, and I chose to put it as my cover photo today, and because I'm sharing on the topic, the power of photography. So as you can see, this photo is right there. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to see a dragonfly, and I don't know how many of you have seen it and appreciated it in the details that it has right now. I don't know how many minutes or how many hours you had to look at it, and examine every bit of it, and come close enough and see how those legs are, and see what color that head is, see where the eyes are, see what's happening with the legs, how the wings are, the shape and how they're arranged, see even how the tail end of that abdomen is looking. I don't know if you've had that chance, but today, courtesy of this photo by one of our great alumni called Taran Gelot, I'm really, really glad that you have this chance, and I'm giving you a few minutes to look at this photo and examine closely and see, is there anything that you may notice from this photo that you may not have noticed even from the times you've come across this dragonfly live. You saw it, it was here, it was flying, it was next to you, it was at the window, it was at the plant. Did you get a chance to just view it the way you're viewing it here? Anyway, without any further ado, I think we dive right into this topic and enjoy this topic together. Good. So as I said, we want to interrogate the camera versus the human eye. Okay, the camera versus the human eye. As I said, we have been told that this camera was made with a lot of inspiration from the human eye, and that is true. We can see a lot of similarities, when we talk about the iris in the eye, and the pupil, they control, the amount of light that comes in by dilating or contracting. On the camera, we can talk about the aperture, okay, which will become small and become big to allow different amounts of light to go in. When we talk about the retina at the back of the eye, the very sensitive part of the eye in terms of visual, we can liken that perhaps to a film, or in these digital cameras to the camera sensor, okay? And definitely, when we talk about the lens, okay, the lens, definitely we know that we've got some lenses in our eyes, and some of us, some of the people who actually use even spectacles have even extra lenses in the exterior, or even contact lenses in the eye, and so I think it's a really worth discussion to interrogate. But I don't just want to take this in the technical side, okay? I just want to look at it not so much from, the technical side of things, because not every one of you who is watching me is a photographer. But I want to look at it from the photography side, from the side of art, okay? And because many of us, though we are not photographers or we are photographers, we have our own way of appreciating art. There are many different forms of art, from drawing to video. I know this season, many of you have watched many movies, correct? I know you've watched many movies. If you go to YouTube, you would find a lot of reviews. People saying, I'm just watching this because I know I'm just bored at home, this corona period, and that's why I'm watching this. I've seen many of those comments, and that means there is a way humanity we appreciate art, okay? So I won't go too much into the technical details so that this can benefit every one of you, okay? Very good. So we start with a quote there, okay? I feel all things are like dynamic events. or beings, changing and interacting with each other in space and time, even as I photographed them. That was a quote by Wayne Bullock, okay? And my question here is, what do you understand from this? That everything that we can photograph perhaps is just a dynamic event or a dynamic being or something that is constantly changing, okay? But he's saying interacting with each other and the environment in space and time, okay? And I want to narrow down to that term space and that term time, okay? I know many of us have seen or know, are aware of, the dictionary definition of photography, and a visual art where you use light, drawing with light, to capture images. But I want to take you into a much deeper, definition where we talk about space and time as the two key elements or variables that we actually play with, and that which brings the difference between the human eye, once again, and the camera. I think it's largely to do with the space and the time. So what do we mean when we talk about the space? We mean how we see our world, okay? The eye will see differently. The camera will see differently. Partly you can say the eye is way much advanced, in terms of dynamic range and many other technical things I don't want to go into right now. But the limitations of this camera, does it make it a better tool or does it make it a worse tool? Would it have been better if the camera could give you exactly what the eye could see? I don't think so. My answer to that is that this gadget is differently positive. It's differently good. The difference is a positive difference, because then it means, in that space, in the world, in the space that you have to capture, in the things that you have to do, in the environment that you are in, then you are able to actually create something that is not necessarily what your eyes would see, okay? That's what we are talking about space. I'm trying to keep it layman. I'm trying not to use too many jargon terms so that we can all be together in this. And what are we talking about when we talk about time? When we talk about time, we are talking about some particular moments, that would otherwise have bypassed us, that we are actually able to capture with the camera, okay, that the naked eye would not get an opportunity to see that, okay? Though you can look, but you may not see it. I don't know if you're getting this. You can look, but you may not see it, okay? And this is just another level of looking at photography. So we are trying to redefine photography in getting deeper into understanding, this space and time. These two key variables that make the camera and photography significantly different from how our eyes see the world, okay? Looking at the photo in front of you, so just two glasses that are colliding mid-air, and the liquids that are colored inside there, they are splashing. This is an event that would happen in a split of a second. As a matter of fact, your eyes would not see it that way. You would not see how the water is curling upwards. You would not see that impact that way. But courtesy of photography, we are actually able to define that time and freeze that time and keep that time as a memory that you can look and relook and examine and see exactly how this happened. And this is the beauty of photography. This is what we are talking about. So today we are talking about space and time in photography, and I believe we'll have a really, really amazing time together. Let's keep moving. Good. So this photograph here, it's a photo that I have used before. I know you've seen this photo when I shared a presentation on the art of photography. this was my cover photo. This is a photo that I took, well, down at the Voyager, down in Mombasa. If you've been at the Voyager Hotel, you would see this amazing shot right next to the pool, facing the Indian Ocean. So if you just wake up early enough around 5:30 and wait, if it's a cloudless day, you will definitely find this shot. So it's not a shot that is highly edited, and all the shots that I will use today are not highly edited. Why? Because I want us to interrogate photography in its raw form. Okay, I know editing has come and editing has made a lot of things possible. Perhaps these people could have been superimposed in this photograph and they could have been not there in the scene. It's possible to do that. But I want us to go back to the raw photography, because personally I get that's where the fun of photography comes. I don't get too much fun in the photo manipulation, and there is nothing wrong if you do get fun with that. There is totally nothing wrong. But for me, I think the thrill of capturing that photo in its raw form in a photographic way is what really, really drives me, and I really appreciate. So we want to interrogate this photo. I don't know what you see when you look at this photo, but we will start to break it down into pieces, into the process that I went to take this photo and how the scene was. And I believe that would be a very interesting thing to show you this space and the time, Okay, very good. Let's dive right into it. Just have a look at it and have something in your mind. What do you think? What do you see? What do you think that man with a stick is doing? Okay. Do you think that he was photoshopped there, or do you think he's there? What is he doing with the stick? What do you think this guy is doing? Right here looking at the other guy, the sun is up, it's rising. Do you think it's photoshopped or it's a real scene? How does it look to you? Does it look too perfect a timing, the position of that person, the position of this person, and the sun right there, that you feel it's a composite? I really want to hear your thoughts on that, and so let's start taking this journey together. As I said, today I'm not doing photography news because we've got a lot of things to cover. So I opted not to do the news before we start this, okay? So this is the first photo we are interrogating. So let's reverse. Before this moment came, let's take a step back and see how the scene was, okay? So I know this is black and white, but this is how the scene was. When I landed there, we woke up very early at about 5:30, and we wanted to capture nice sunrise. So we went and looked for really nice positions, and this is one of the positions that I found. And I took this photo and I told myself, this is a nice perspective. I can sit here and wait for the sun to come out. Remember, that was around 5:30 or earlier in the morning at the Voyager in Mombasa, and just waiting for that moment, okay? So what happened is that as I got this composition, then I definitely knew it was a bit plain. It's a nice photo, but I really wanted to bring the human element, to bring life to that photograph. And so as I waited there, and I'm just there and wondering how to do this, this particular guy with this stick came, okay? And I want us to zoom a bit closer into this area here, because you realize here that this is the Indian Ocean. You can see the water here, with all these ripples and etc. But again, you realize there is a defined line here, and here things are different. So what exactly is happening? We can zoom in here and try to investigate what exactly is this area and what is happening, okay? So we have zoomed a bit in just to see much better this particular area here. And as you can see, the ocean is up to this place, but me and you know that the ocean line of water is not a straight line like it is here, okay? So what exactly could be happening, and I'll explain to you that. So in the Voyager Hotel, there's what we call an infinity infinity swimming pool, okay? Infinity pool. An infinity pool is made in such a way that, it doesn't have the water spills all out of the pool. The water is at the same level with the height of the pool, so it spills out and it's put right next, to the ocean, so that then you can see as if you're in the ocean when you're in the pool. So that's what is happening. So this part of the photograph you see here is actually the pool. It's actually a swimming pool, this part of the photograph here. And this part of the photograph here is actually the Indian Ocean. That's why you see a clearly defined line there, okay? So that's the first mystery that you may have not noted in this photograph, okay? Now, the perspective that I got and the positioning of the camera enabled me to have a perspective that you don't notice that difference, okay? You don't notice the difference, the demarcation so clearly in the original photo. But as I said, this photograph here, if it was just like that, you would have seen something is wrong here, something is missing. But immediately we bring in the element of human, your focus shifts immediately. It shifts from exactly how the water is at the demarcation to actually the human activity that is happening there, okay? Now, if you are standing in this same place, looking at it with your naked eyes, there is no way that your eye could be fooled about this difference. But you see, with photography, we are actually able to kill that, and we are actually able to show it as a seamless photo. Though you may not decipher what exactly that guy is doing with a stick near the ocean, but ideally, we are able to shift your mind from looking at that demarcation right there to appreciating how all these elements come together. So when this guy showed up in the scene, I knew this was the right time. So I took one photo without this guy looking here with this guy, and I thought, wow, this is good. Then I thought, still we can't really appreciate too much of what he's doing. And I told my friend here who we were with at that time, I told him just to stand in the foreground here and look at that other guy. And I saw now that was the perfect composition. And I took that photo, and that was it for me, So when you look at it this way, you might think, wow, this was just a magical scene. No, as you saw in that testimony that we ran, from our alumni, photos are not just taken. Photos are created, and that forms one of the key major difference, that our eyes will see how the scene is, but we can create a different kind of a scene in the same space, courtesy of photography. And that is where creativity comes in, and that is where some of the limitations of this tool we call the camera, not being like the eye, become an advantage, because they enable you to see a different view, and the photographer is tactfully now able to focus your mind. The other key difference, obviously, is that the camera doesn't have a mind, but we've got a mind, and your mind is such a powerful tool. Your mind will fill in the gaps, okay? And that's why you see the mind fills in this gap. You don't notice this. Why? Because your mind will fill in that gap. Because of the whole scene and everything, your mind will fill in the gap. And that's the beauty about the mind. And that's why the human eye and the camera can never be the same. The camera will give you an absolute. And your eye, because of the interpretation by your brain, may not give you the absolute. It may definitely fill in the blanks. Is it a bad thing? Definitely no. That is the space of imagination in our mind as God created it. So that's the first photo we wanted to break down. So then we move to another series of photos just to show you again something different that the camera could do that perhaps our eyes would not see it that way, okay? So we have this guy here, he's running and he's a long jumper. He's just running to the place to jump, okay? Then the next photo right here, he's jumping. He's mid-air, okay? And then the next photo right here, he's still mid-air. But now we can see how his motion is while he's on the air, okay? The next photo here, he's preparing to land, He's put on the landing gear, as you can see, the position that he has to land in, okay? And the next photo here, he's actually landing. His feet are actually right into the sand, as you can see, And finally, he's right in there, okay? Now, let's play back that scene from your mind how you would see it. Okay, in the real time with your eyes, how you would see the scene, okay? It takes a split of a second for this guy to jump from here to come all this way. It takes a split of a second, and you wouldn't have time to appreciate, those positions, that effort, that zeal, the muscles. You wouldn't have time to really appreciate all that is going on. But what about photography? What is different that the camera would capture? The camera would actually be able to freeze that time for you. So even if he was sprinting how fast, he's mid-air, we can see his facial expression, we can see the muscles on his left arm, we can see how high he has jumped, okay? And we can appreciate, the strife that he's going through, trying to propel himself to move much further. We can freeze that time and we can look at it and appreciate. I'm sure he has not seen himself in this position, okay? But courtesy of photography, something that the human eye is not able to do, playing around with the time, freezing those milliseconds, that fraction of a second, just freezing it, is an amazing thing that photography is actually able to do, that the human eye would not give you that kind of a thing. These photos I took as we were just doing some practicals outside with our students. We were shooting sports photography just for class purposes, but definitely they have gone far and wide, even to win competitions, okay? So again, here we are talking about time, that moment that your eye may not have seen, giving you that moment in the detail. Where is his hand when he finally landed? How did his feet land? How did the sand, spill? How was his mouth? Why was it open? I don't know. But ideally, giving you a chance to appreciate the details of every second, okay? Now, you see how many photos are those from this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A series of 6 photos, 6 different intervals frozen in time, okay? That otherwise would pass us in just a few seconds and milliseconds. That is amazing power of photography against what the human eye would see, okay? Let's move to our next photo. Again, this is another photo we took while doing again class practicals, shooting sports photography. Again, this is a millisecond. Those of you who've seen swimming competitions, this moment is not a moment that you actually see. It happens so fast. As soon as the whistle goes, shwa, off the air, right into the water. And you don't notice this moment. But right here, using the tool, the camera, photography is able to freeze that moment for you, to appreciate it, to interrogate the details, and appreciate, that swimming competition is not just about swimming. There is a lot of effort. You can see, the effort, the muscle, the struggle. You can see how the competition is beginning stiff, okay? So that is actually one of the beauty of photography. And I like the fact that the camera is different from the eye, because the eye won't give me this, but the camera, would give me this definitely. Very good. So let's come and look at this photograph here. Okay, this we were just doing some practicals with some students, at the studio, and this is just a cork and just a glass. And when we put cork into the glass, that's more of what we would see. Okay, that's more of what we would see. Okay, from the human eye perspective per se. Okay, how about how the camera is able to capture that differently? Okay, look at that. This is the same photo taken. You can see here the cork is still spilling. Okay, but look at what photography is able to do. It's actually able in the same space as your eye will see. It's actually able to give you, that different look, that different feel, that different shot that your eye never saw. I never saw this moment. But when I looked at my photo, I realized, wow, what the camera got was pretty different from what my eyes were seeing. Okay, for my eyes, it just spilled over and it spilled to the table. But for the camera, it just didn't spill. There was a moment in between spilling and hitting the table and spilling from the glass. And that is the moment that we never see with our eyes. So I want to interest you in photography, as you can see, that the limitations of the camera against the human eye is what makes photography photography. So we don't want to try to make it to be more like the eye per se. We want to make it to be slightly different so that it can give you what the eye will not see. And that's why then we need a photographer. Otherwise, we don't need a photographer. Okay? Cool. I don't know what you see in this photo. I don't know what you see, and I'd like to hear your comments on this. These are photos taken by one of our students, one of our young students from high school, just in the studio when they're doing their photos for their competitions, in high school competitions. And this is actually a water ripple. It's a drop of water that is falling into a small fish tank kind of a thing. And it's actually dropping and then it's bouncing off. You can see the ripple here from the drop of water bouncing. And when it bounces from the water and it bounces up, this is actually how it comes up shaped. Did you know that? I never knew it until we took this photo, And so what we did, we just colored the water. We put some food color in the water to give it that red color so that we can actually see the water. Because otherwise we would just see the background, which was actually a blue surface. Okay, so the water would be blue, the background would be blue. You wouldn't be able to make a distinction. So we put food color in the water to color it a bit to be red, so that red against blue, you are able to see clearly every bit of these ripples here and the bounce, the bouncing of that drop of water. And this is amazing. I can tell you for a fact, even if you keep looking 1,000 times as you drop different drops of water, you would never appreciate this moment, than you would in this photograph right now, just looking at it frozen at that particular point that the water dropped and it bounced up, in the fish tank. So again, power of photography, that time, playing around with time, whether you are freezing time or you are capturing time, the occurrence of things over time is amazing. Looking at it in terms of space, this is just all created, really, basically. It's just a normal fish tank and you drop a drop of water and you take that photo. But see what a magnificent photo that comes out of that. just manipulating the space, and that becomes really, really interesting. Okay, so I want to hear your comments on this. We are looking at photography in terms of space and time. We are not going into the technicals of how we took this photo. We can do that next time or another time, but for today we just want to appreciate time and space in photography. Okay, wow, look at that. I don't know what comes to your mind immediately you saw that photo. You must have thought, wow, this guy is a magician, this guy, put, fire in his mouth and is spitting fire. If it's a child who sees that, they might think this is the dragon that we've been told about, in the storybooks that spits out fire, But this is not the dragon. This is actually just a high school student just mimicking this. And I want us to break down how we took this photo again, just to help you appreciate the space, the place of space and time in photography that can help you to create extraordinary images with your camera than you would be able to actually do or see with your eyes, okay? So number one, I want to say this guy didn't put the fire in his mouth. No, that would have been dangerous. There is no way the parents would have allowed him to do that, okay? This photo was taken actually by a high school student, from our studio again, as they are preparing for their competition photography, okay? And what this student did is that he came with another student, okay? She came with another student, and the other student is the one you're seeing in the photo, who just did and gave the emotion that he's spitting out fire. And you can see from his emotion, it's like he's actually spitting out fire. And I want to say this photo is not photoshopped. We've not photoshopped the fire to put it there. No. This photo is taken like that. It's a raw photo. It's taken like that, okay? So what we just did, this guy is here, okay? He's standing here and doing his mouth like this. And then there is a fire about a meter away from him. There is actually a fire, that we actually blow the fire and the fire goes this way, okay? And this guy is here. So we just made sure we have aligned this guy, his height, the height of the mouth with where the fire is. So when we blow the fire and the fire goes that way, and this guy does, it looks as if he's spitting fire. So if we zoom in a little bit, you'll actually appreciate that there is no fire in his mouth. As you can see, the fire is actually on the other side, okay? The fire is on the other side. And I know nowadays it's very easy for us just to Photoshop these kinds of things. And that's why I said, for me, the thrill is not in the Photoshop. It's not in the photo manipulation during editing. It is actually in being able to actually take a photo, that is actually a real photo taken through photography technical skills, okay? So that is an amazing picture taken by one of our students right there. But when it is like this, again, you cannot see that because your mind will fill in the gaps. Your mind will not go right there to investigate. Instead, you'll be carried away by the emotion, the person, the fire. And that's what your mind will do. It will actually fill in the gaps. So that is another amazing photo there by one of our students again. And that is really, really good as they do practicals in the studio. Wow. This is another amazing photograph. I don't know what you see. This is at GP Cutting, and we were there just shooting some spots. And I remember, when I got this photo, I was really thrilled because I can see, the world seems like it's all shaking. It's like the whole world here is actually shaking. It's a shaky ground. And at the same time, this guy, looks like he's a bit tack sharp, he's a bit tack sharp, but this other one is a bit blurry. You can feel the motion. You can feel he's coming way too fast to overtake this guy. But I love the fact that, the whole scene again looks you know, for those of you who've been at GP cutting just next to Carnival here in Nairobi, there is this spot that you can indulge in, you know. But this is not just your ordinary view of how the eye would see this scene. You'd see the vehicles moving, you know, like Formula One kind of a thing, really fast, really fast, really fast. But your eye would not see this. Again, using photography techniques, it's possible to actually get something totally different, playing around with time, you know, capturing, you know, time, a span of time, yeah, what we call exposure time, playing around with the time and the space that you have to actually create very unique images that your eye would never see anything like that. And even the difference is also that a video camera would also not actually get this moment like it is right now, okay? And so that also makes, you know, the eye is more like a video camera if you want to think about it that way, because we see things in a continuous way. But photography kind of really picks on just the time that you really want to show, okay? And you can play around with different variables, you know, and different kind of lenses and different kind of filters and different kind of techniques, you know, to just create something special from your photography. Yeah, so this is again another nice photo I took from GP cutting, and I really like how unique the photo appears. Okay, it's not your ordinary photo. Good. Finally, we have this photo here, which, you know, is more of a common scene that many of you may have seen, you know, just a long exposure photo capturing an extended period of time as vehicles are moving. You know, this at the bridge at the University Way near the University of Nairobi. And, you know, you can see that scene there with the Nairobi Safari Park walk there, you know, the Lillian Towers, former Lillian Towers. And this is a simple photo to achieve. Again, this was done by one of our students, and I will acknowledge all of them at the end of this, okay? You know, during one of our night street shoots at Nairobi as part of our student trips, you know, one of the students took this. It's simply a long exposure. There's really nothing technical about it, but your eye will not see that. Your eye will see each car passing, but it will not collate together all those streams of light and give you such a scene. So what are we saying? We are saying that, yes, the camera is significantly different. The eye is way much advanced, definitely, than the camera. The eye also, the final vision you see is processed by the brain, and the camera is just gives you the absolute of what exactly that you've played around with in terms of space, in terms of time, and definitely light, okay? And that is the power of the camera. That is the power of photography. And I know I've just touched this on the surface. There are definitely many more things we can talk about, many more different kinds of photography we can show to actually demonstrate this, and we will continue talking about it and showing it, you know, in the coming days. For now, let's stop there, and let me just acknowledge, you know, my good students here, Taran Gelot, Bethel Kungu, Irugan Joroge, and Wanjiko Mwangi, who contributed their photos to help us make this presentation possible. So let's go right back to the studio and let's see what we have right there. Okay, let's see what we have right there back in the studio. Very good. There we are. Okay. So let me see what comments you have so far, you know, and this is really, really cool. Albert Onchari tuned in. Slave, the illest, tuned in. You know, Emma Waithera, Jired, joining. This is really good. Kingsley is saying, I still believe the eye is the best camera yet. If someone could mimic that, it would be so awesome, but we are heading there. Very good comment right there. But I think I have a different perspective. I'd rather have a tool that would give me what I'm not seeing with my eye instead of a replica of what I'm seeing, because then I wouldn't appreciate the photo and photography that much, okay? But it's okay. I like your opinion as well. Slave, the man with the stick, I assume the stick is connected a net and he seems to be clearing the shore since you can't fish from that point. Okay, Mr. Slave, now you know he's not clearing the shore, he's actually cleaning the pool, okay, cleaning the swimming pool. Queen Vaji, I think the power of photography is to freeze a moment is very powerful because we are able to appreciate the details, and it's unimaginable how much you can see when you freeze a split of a second, properly spoken. Yes, we are learning amazing things. That's perfect right there, Queen Vaji. I totally agree with you. That is amazing. Mr. Carlson Dietrichs right there has also joined us. Queen Vaji is saying mesmerizing view in the photo of the man looking into the ocean. I also appreciate the colors, the sunrise. It's just breathtaking. Thank you. That is amazing. Glad to hear that. You know, Nasi Wabwile, karibu sana. Glad to see you. Martin Wanja is saying, I like the photos and we are now able to understand that photo is not taken but created. The photo looks so good to be taken like that, so to also look photoshopped. Yes. I don't do too much of Photoshop myself, you know, but definitely I also appreciate the space of Photoshop and post-production. Kimsley Kasley is saying, I love how detailed this photo is. Everything is outlined, and despite being a silhouette, someone is not straining to see what is happening. I also love how the waves and the ripples are so clear and the created mood. Nice one right there, Queen Vaji again. Freezing a moment, the guy jumping, amazing. I think that is why in video they use slow motion, so that you can appreciate the details. In photography, freezing moment helps us to appreciate the same level of amazing details. That is very true. I'm not a videographer myself, but I appreciate slow motion. That is really amazing, making that comparison between photography and video really, really great. You know, I'm a photographer, and so I have to talk about photography and show you how powerful it is and leave the videographers to come and talk about how powerful video is. You know, that's a nice contest right there. Okay, Kimsley is saying, about the jump, how are you able to juggle between the shutter speeds in between? Okay, so basically there is this function in cameras that we call burst mode. Okay, burst mode, it just means that the camera will be able to take many photos in succession. As you press and hold down, you know, the shutter release button, you know, the camera will not just take one and stop there, okay? It will take and continue taking, and it will take many of them. As you hold it down, it will just take many photos in a series. So that is just using a high shutter speed and using the burst mode. Some cameras can do up to 6 frames per second, others 7, others 8, others 12 frames per second, and that will determine how many photos or frames you get, you know, by the time you start that shooting. Okay, for me, I got 6. I think by then I was using a semi-professional camera. I think it was the D7000, which does about 6 or 6.5 frames per second. But today you can get even 12, even 18 frames per second. Amazing capabilities in more modern cameras, and that would be amazing. Queen Vaji is saying, I like the way you can see the water being pushed back with the guys swimming. I'm loving the idea of freezing moments in photography, and the eye could never see this. That is very true. Dietrich, you're saying, wow, I love the freezing tactic. It helps us capture the fine details that the natural eye would miss, and the lighting also compliments. I feel thirsty already, and I think I need a Coke. Very interesting, Dietrich. I think I would buy you a Coke if you are right here near me. I would definitely buy you a Coke. Kimsley is saying, I like the creativity behind the spitting fire. It honestly looks photoshopped. I am surprised to hear that it's actually raw. Yes, I think as photographers, we have to really try push things on the side of shooting and not rely too much on post-production, because then it becomes very enjoyable to actually attain those kind of photos. Okay, Dietrich is saying, awesome, this photo of the city makes Nairobi look like London. Wow, great, appreciated. That is nice. Martin Wanja there is saying, wow, the photo of Nairobi makes it look so great. Even can't imagine Nairobi we know would look that great. Thank you so much right there. Let's turn to YouTube and see what we've got here. You know, YouTube, we are seeing Mr. Elijah Kungu is tuned in here, and we are seeing there isn't so much comment right there. And I believe it's been a worth 1 hour of discussion, just discussing, the time and the space, these two variables that actually define photography, playing around with the time and the space, okay? And that is really, really cool and really, really amazing. Would like to hear more of your comments. If you are looking for a place to train, Davasha Media Academy is the place to be. We do train in photography, we train in video, we train in photo editing, video editing, we train in graphics design, and we are also training, in writing skills and other interesting things like those. So we are really, really glad, and we would like you to join us now. We have even started training kids as small as 3 years old all the way. So definitely don't miss out. Share this out, with your friends, and just make sure that it's gonna be, that amazing space that we share together and learn together and improve one another's life, okay? So that's it for me today. I would ask you, to switch on the notification, click the notification button so every time we are live, you can be able to see us. That would be great. I would ask you to share this link in the groups that you are in. Let other people enjoy this free knowledge that you are sharing out there. And that would be a great, great thing. I would ask you as well to check out for our live broadcast again this coming Wednesday, 11 to 12, doing video, and on Friday again in business, discussing how to inspire young entrepreneurs. That would be a really, really a great thing that you would do, and we would love to be with you. We know the president has announced that, we would be going back to norm in terms of opening up the economy and life going back to normal. And we know this is a very good time because, everyone is at home, and so we can come to you at this time of the day. As the economy opens up, we will reschedule our timings and we'll be able to communicate to you the new timings, because perhaps you'll be at work or at school at that time, and you will not be able to view the show at that time. But we'll definitely keep the shows running, but we may have to put them in a more convenient time for you, and that would be a great thing. So come next week, we'll definitely advise you on the new formula and how we're gonna do. Davasha Live is gonna grow much bigger, much better. If you're there, you want to share your testimony, you are an alumni, you want to come here and do a show, you want to, share your experience with others out there, this is the space to be, whether it's in video, whether it's in photography, whether it's in entrepreneurship or business, this is the place to be. So from my side, I'm really grateful that you joined us, and thank you so much for joining us. And that was a really awesome time we've had together. As we conclude, I want you to just watch some testimonial video that you can see about how we've done things in the past, a couple of videos for you, and that would be really, really amazing. Otherwise, stay tuned for Wednesday, same time, same place, and God bless you.
My interest in photography started when my dad gave me his camera and he's like, go take pictures. So from that day on, I became a lover of photography.
I always knew that I'd want to do something related to cameras.
While we had gone for a hangout in Karura Forest, and while we were taking the photos, I really got interested by the nature and the photos that I actually took.
I've always had an interest in photography, but it was more of a hobby.
And so I started doing my research on photography schools and bumped into an advert on Instagram about Davasha photography. So eventually I ended up at Muthaiga Suits where they are located, and I applied and finally became a Davasha member.
I wanted to transition from doing photography as a hobby to doing it as a professional business. And that's when I discovered Davasha.
When I saw what they were offering, I was just sure that that's the place I wanted to be.
I had attended a wedding and David was the one doing photography for that day. So I was impressed on how he was doing things. He was so diligent, precise and professional. So after the wedding we met up.
I was trying to look for a place that is efficient for me to learn and still really close to home.
When I joined the school, I thought I would just take photos and that's all. But to my surprise, I was really taken through a whole experience on photography, learning about long exposure, learning about lighting on in photography that actually make photos.
After a few weeks, he gave me a call and I joined the school. So things were so new to me when I started school. It was a bit challenging because it was my first time handling a DSLR camera.
Davasha photography, why? Because the budget was efficient and I was able to learn and still go to college at the same time.
Things that I thought I really knew, I discovered that there was a lot more that I didn't know.
We were taught different lighting techniques and how to apply those techniques in a given setting.
My experience at Davasha photography was excellent because it's a family system, so you learn from other photographers who were there before, and also I picked up a few things that I'm gonna carry throughout my career. First, persistence and being true to yourself, because that's what makes you stand out as a photographer.
At Davasha, they really take time to take you from the very basic step of how to switch on your camera to the very last step of editing the photo that you have.
The curriculum is so detailed and wide. We learnt a lot of things, and it even gave me an upper hand from my friends who started out photography way before me.
You're sent to the field, you actually get to experience the whole curve of a day-to-day photographer's life.
I went for an attachment with Davasha photography for wedding photography, which gave me the confidence actually to do my own photography business with confidence.
My experience at Davasha has enabled me to not only get the skill but have the confidence to register my business and now become a professional photographer. So see you in the field, guys.
I always wanted to do fashion photography, so that's what I delved into when I started.
So I started looking for opportunities and forums to sharpen my skill.
A very top model in Kenya saw my work and he wanted to work with me. So he contacted me and we settled one day to just go do a random shoot in Nairobi. Those photos went a long way to get me nominated for the photo masterpiece contest. I was among the top 6 in the fashion category, and I was actually second runners up for the fashion category. That's what Davasha does for you. It transforms your amateur photography to professional photography.
One thing I actually learned about photography is that photos are not just taken, but they are made.